anything that we have here. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Actually, that just reminded me very quickly I need to take my meds. I was like, can't go on to a thing and talk about taking meds if I haven't even taken my own yet.
Yeah.
There you go. Come on, mental health.
I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Hi guys, my name is Ivy, or I'm known on Twitter as Red Ivy with 2 Y's, or always remember the second Y. And yeah, welcome to the mental health panel, where I have some amazing and beautiful people here so we can talk about mental health. And so I want to have everyone introduce themselves and also say their pronouns. Oh, also, I forgot to say my pronouns are she, her, she, her. So yeah, we can start with you, Sabrina.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cyberina. I am a full-time variety streamer here on Twitch, and my pronouns are she/her.
Awesome. What about you, Dion?
My name is Dion. Dior Black. My pronouns right now are she, her. Outside of drag, it's still she, her, he, him, they, them. It can be whatever. But in drag, it's always she, her.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. What about you, Islamir? Isha?
Hi, my name is Issa. I'm obviously out of drag right now, so you can also call me Varian if you want. My pronouns are he, him, she, her, they, them. Anything with respect.
Amazing. Okay, what about you, Luke?
So my name is Luca Me. I'm a drag king and alien here on Twitch. I am also currently out of drag. So right now my pronouns are she, they.
Thank you so much. Okay. What about you, Nikki?
안녕하세요, Nikimida. Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki Stones, and my pronouns are she, her in drag or she, they out of drag, whichever is easiest for everyone else.
Thank you, guys. And I just want to thank you all for being here today with me to be able to talk about something so personal and something so vulnerable that maybe that it doesn't get we're going to talk about this later, or we can talk about this now, about how sometimes there's kind of a stigma about talking about mental health and trying to take care of yourself, because you always have to take care of yourself and take care of your mental health, because I always have a motto saying that myself is my number one priority above above everything. I am always my number one priority. So I always make sure I am good before anything else. So yeah. Well, so I guess we can start with why do you guys think there is such a stigma about talking about mental health? Do you want to start us off, Sabrina?
Okay, so I think one of the main reasons why there's such a stigma, especially in the Black community, is just the lack of resources available to people of color. One thing that I learned as I got older was that there are specific therapists and mental health institutions directed towards certain things. So if you're, an immigrant, there would be a therapist that specializes in immigrant relations, things of that nature. But it's already hard enough to find other Black people just in everyday life in other places, institutions, and then to find them in a mental health institution focused on your life experience is even harder. So it's I think that's a huge hurdle. I also think with the Black community, it's really that kind of pick yourself up by the bootstraps kind of mentality. But it's hard because everyone kind of needs help, and I think it's kind of navigating that sort of comfort of trusting another person. I think those could be reasons to start off with.
I think, honestly, I 100% agree. Yeah, because I said, everyone needs help, and it's very true that because we all go through things, we all have problems in our own life, and if we're not able to have the resource that you said that we're not gonna be able to work and grow. And what about you, John? What are your thoughts?
I think 2 reasons. Well, not two. They're not the solid reasons, but to me, I think church a lot. I grew up in the church. I'm still Christian, but I think if you have your own relationship with God, that's better than an umbrella of this is what you should do, this. Everyone, well, I thinks, oh, God will fix it, God will fix it. But it's like the faith without works is dead. So seek help and you'll get help. That's how he'll fix it, because you'll go get help. And I think there's a few things that people feel like if they're going against God by seeking help, or going against God by doing this or that. But if you look at it, he wouldn't have given the people who's giving you help those talents if they couldn't give you talents. Also, I think Black people or people of color, they fear, like, let's say there's a single mom and she's struggling mentally, but she's raising her 3 kids. She has 2 jobs and working on a third, and she seeks help. If she runs to the wrong, I feel like if she runs to the wrong person, they can take her kids away because they think she's not mentally prepared to take care of kids or things like that, when that's not the case. And I've learned that from firsthand from people that I talk to. They're like, I want to get help, but they might take my kids away and this and that. And it's like, they're not going to hurt their kids. They just need help. And I think that's something that, in at least the PLC community, that I've seen and heard about fear of like losing your kids. And it's like, that's not why I need help. I need help to figure out thoughts in my mind and how to process things. So I think like the church and like people fear of loss as well.
I totally get that, and I really resonated when you were saying how you have like a single mom who's trying to raise her kids, but also like also having to deal with like her own like mental health. Like my mom was a single mom, and my mom dealt with a lot of mental health issues like while raising us, and she for a very long time she really neglected herself and neglected her own mental health, because she was just trying to raise us and like make sure we grew up like strong and stuff, and just like to be like and to have a house over her, because we were struggling every month financially, and she really like it really took a toll on her. It's like there was even time that it took too hard of a toll on her, where like there was a time when she attempted suicide, even though she had her kids, because she just couldn't handle all of the pressure that she was being put under from being a single mom and having to raise us. And I really and it was really, for me, it was very hard during that point, because she was my mom and I was like a teenager at the time, and to think that like to hear my mom she because at the time because when she tried, she wasn't home, she was out, and she had texted us, she's like, please take care of because it's like she taking me and my older sister, she's like, please take care of your younger siblings because I can't do this anymore. And it really hurt me, because I was like, I didn't really even though I had seen what she was going through all growing up, but I didn't really understand how hard she really was working for this until that happened. Luckily, obviously, she didn't go through with it, and she started actually getting the help she needed, and I'm grateful to have that, and especially my younger siblings, that they still have a mother in their life that that can take care of them. But yeah. Okay. What about you, Isa? What's your thoughts on? You're muted.
Well, first of all, thank you for even sharing that, because even that resonated a lot with me. My mom was also a single mom for the most part. My dad is around, but wasn't really in the picture for the most part. And I think as a community, we don't really talk about the burden of not just being a single mom, but specifically being a Black single mom. And my mom even had it kind of worse, because we grew up in a lot of white spaces, and she was just very, very extremely proud to the point of almost fault, where it was and I think a big thing of why people don't seek out mental health resources in the Black community is specifically ignorance. I myself am learning so much just about my capacity and my mental health, and things that I didn't even know were issues with me, things that I didn't even know were problems, because when you're going around and going through life, you obviously normalize your thought patterns, you obviously normalize your behaviors, and you just kind of assume that everyone else is going through the exact same thing and doing the same thing as you. And in some ways, I think people are. and we just don't talk to each other enough. And I think if we did talk to each other enough, like a lot of these issues wouldn't be issues. But I don't know. I just think Black single moms in particular, I just remember as a kid, just like my mom, just taking on the brunt of just literally everything. And my mom worked in the nursing field a lot. So like, I don't think people talk about like how much like immigrants specifically have to deal with racism at their job on a daily basis. Because when you are a Black nurse in white spaces, you're typically dealing with people who lived through these really fucked up times and have no problems like slinging slurs at you, have no problem being physical with you. And then you just kind of take that and you internalize it because it's your job. It's how you're keeping the lights on. It's how you're feeding your family. And I just feel like that is just a lot to take on without ever actually getting help. And I've even noticed now as I've gotten older, me and my mom, we talk like quite a bit, like I would say 2 to 3 times a week. And every single time, it's like an hour conversation. And I'm like just realizing like, oh, this woman just needs to talk to someone. And I don't know. I think there can be a lot to be said about just like the ignorance surrounding our own mental health and like the Black community, and how as Black people, we just take on like just everything and we just don't talk about it because we think that's the norm. And we think that like the way that our brain feels and the way that we are feeling is normal and how everyone feels. And like, we should just get over it. And it's just really, truly just not, it's just not what is happening. Especially, I just don't think a lot of the things that cause mental health distress for Black people just period aren't necessarily happening to people who aren't of color already off the bat, I think. And the fact that we aren't receiving the same resources as people who don't necessarily have to deal with the same issues as us, like already off the bat, just kind of sucks. But I don't know. That was kind of...
No, you're good.
Yeah. I really resonate what you were saying, how how we think like this is kind of the norm of like that everyone feels this way, which in reality it's really like it's not, and like it really shouldn't have to that we shouldn't have to like kind of in a way suppress all these these feelings. That's the thing, like it's the norm, and that like that just to get over it, because in reality like it's not that easy to think. We can mental health is a very like hard thing. Like you can't like, it's not like you can just like when you start feeling these things, it's not like these things can just like go away. Like when like just because you say like, oh, I just need to get over it, because that's not how mental health works. You really have to work on these things, and like especially like in the Black community, how it's difficult is because with the stigma about mental health, it's very interesting. Like I know how I talked about like my mom, how like she struggled with things like this too. But it is one thing she once said to me, even though she knew I struggled with like my own mental health, like depression, anxiety, like I struggle with these things, and even after like that, my mom had and she also, because that's like I said, she also like struggled with these things. My mom once I told my mom, or I told my family that there was one time in my life where I was in such a dark place that I actually started. Okay. I forgot to say this at the beginning of the panel, and thank you, Luke, for saying it in chat. That's about trigger warning. This panel is gonna be like trigger warning because we're gonna talk about some very trigger happy things, and like it's a lot of these are gonna be very deep and personal and very like you may feel uncomfortable about certain things like suicide, and like things like that. Especially something I'm about to say something right now about my story about when like I just one time I told my parent, like my family, about self-harm, and about me self-harming, and my mom told me, she's like, oh, we don't do that in our family. I'm just like she almost alienated me out of the family because of something I did to ease my pain. Like at the time, to think that it would ease my pain, and to think that especially in our community that we that things like this happen, that we think that like we shouldn't do things like this in our us, like we shouldn't do things like that to ourselves, to our people, and it's like it always reminds me, like my mom who struggled with things like that. She told me something like that, like you shouldn't do things like that. Like I don't think she's ever like self-harm herself. I don't know, but like to think that like when I told her that I had once did that she kind of like she really cast me out. She alienated me because of that. And I thought it was very like it was really hard to me that and like it almost made me like just not ever want to talk to her about about what I was going through again. Yeah, I keep talking a lot about my thing.
No,
that's fair. I'm sure.
but I mean that's what this is for, and
Yeah.
I think,
thank
and
you
I
for
think that's part
thank you
of
for
what it
sharing your
is.
story.
Yeah, right. It's like sharing it and letting other people know that they're not alone. Yeah, I think for me, especially like
Mhm.
a lot of I mean, look, I don't, obviously Nick will have more of an international perspective on this, but I think especially in America, we've had such a history of, um, obviously people of color have not been priority in this country, in terms of like caring about their thoughts and their feelings. And so I think as generationally as like there haven't been institutions put in place to normalize taking care of mental health. So that's where we resort to like maybe we'll talk to each other and like kiki and stuff like that, but we don't actually have spaces where we feel like we're comfortable speaking about things. And so therefore as a result, like we don't have the language all the time to speak about how we're feeling, which is why like we get family members who are just like, oh, we don't do that. And it's like, okay, well, maybe if you had the language to talk about it, this wouldn't be a thing that we don't do. It's like we actually just need the vocabulary to talk about these things. Like I think same thing. Like I feel like um my dad and I, we've had a lot more conversations lately because it's like I've been more open about like how depressed I am a lot. And definitely it's something I saw him because he had a lot of medical issues going up. When I was raised, that like you could see him going through it and he wouldn't express what was going on, but you could see like now that I'm older, I'm like the stuff I'm feeling, I'm like, oh, I fully can tell that he was definitely like going through an episode or like he was fully going through it and just like wasn't expressing it to us. Because of like the stuff that he was going through, and it's one of the things where it's so weird because like starting to talk about it more now as an adult, trying to have the conversation of like, okay, now that I have more vocabulary about what's going on, I want to like be able to talk more about it. And it's not just like depression's not just going to go away with like getting more sunlight. And, yes, I'm a vampire and probably could be awake more during the daytime. But like it's more than just like getting sunlight. It's more like there's more to it than just that. Like there's so much more that goes into dealing with depression than just simply like I was like, and I'm a pretty positive person, but I still like deal with that. So it's like it's not there's so much more that goes into it, and I think that's part of why like he also probably struggled with it so much is because someone else probably just told him just get more sunlight and you'll be okay, and like just like just get a little bit of fresh air and you'll be fine, and or like just pray and it'll go away. And same thing with Dion mentioned about like the church and the idea of like just pray it away, and it's like okay, like you can pray, but also you also could like put something with that, so that way it's not just
Exactly.
like wishing something will happen. It's like you got to also like put something in place, which is getting the resources to help you process it. And I think it's one thing to like we're still not fully there, but it's definitely a conversation that has been happening more and more as the older I get about like no, like sometimes I really am just like unable to get out of bed, or like sometimes I do have to cancel stream because I really cannot function today, or like there's so many things that happen. It's like it's more than just like feeling lazy or not feeling up to it. It's like there's something actually going on that like I'm dealing with right now mentally that be brushed off. And I think so often like dealing with mental health seems like a luxury rather than a necessity almost, because it seems like oh like I have the lux, and like for me it's personally it's like okay, I don't have healthcare, I'm literally like always just barely paying rent, so it's like I literally do not have the luxury to even find the cheapest form of healthcare or to find a therapist and pay for one, like when I'm barely feeding myself. So stuff like that, it's like having the luxury to let myself like or like anytime I do cancel stream, I'm like, okay, do I have the luxury to cancel stream today when like I know that's part of how I am feeding myself? It's like, do I have that luxury? And a lot of times like people of color aren't given the luxury to do that. And so it's instead of it being a universal thing that everyone has access to, it seemed as like if you can afford it, you can afford the time to find a therapist that works for you, to pay for the medication that you need, like to take the time off from work to take those mental health days, like or to take time off school or whatever. Like it seemed as a luxury rather than like oh like it should be guaranteed that if you're at work you have certain days that are guaranteed as like mental health days. You know, like before I quit my job, it was like I was working at a restaurant where it's like we didn't have time off. It was like you just would hope that like you weren't scheduled to work on a certain day. Like there was no time off. Like even the pandemic, there was no time off. So it's like, when am I going to take that mental health day? It's like there is no time to take that mental health day. It's like if I do that, I'm purposely losing out on money, and I have to like justify something else to lose that money. And it's like, can I afford to lose a day's worth of work just for my mental health? And it's like, I think a lot of people don't think about how many people just struggle with those things. Just if it's like, okay, like what can I afford to lose in order to take care of my mental health? There's always something at play there. So it makes it hard. And a lot of times you're just like, okay, I just won't deal with it because I can't afford to, and I, don't have the words to fully process it right now. So I'm just not going to deal with it. Which just perpetuates the mental health getting worse by not having space to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally resonate with I feel what you said earlier about how you feel like, especially in our country, that we're not made like a priority and anything. Which, speaking of priority, if you guys, if you guys at home want to make this a priority, you can do give us some reparation, do exclamation mark reps in chat, like, so we can like, if
white people pay for my therapy challenge.
Yeah, pay for
white people pay for my therapy challenge.
Yeah.
So far this call, we got the white people pay for an air fryer. White people pay for my therapy.
Yes.
Like, let's do it.
Yeah, exclamation mark reps.
But real
so
talk.
We can get some our panelists some, maybe donate so you can so we can get our panelists some coins so they can pay for therapy or some health, some self care for themselves. Exclamation point reps. Get our reparations. Period.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. I want to definitely add on to kind of what Luke was saying about not being a priority and not being seen as a priority. So I've been like in Ireland, I've said in every single panel that I've been on, Ireland is fucking racist, and I will forever say it until the end of time. Ireland is racist. It's not cool. It's not okay the way that things are being handled here. But I've been in the mental health service since I was 8 years old. I'm 22 now. That is maths, however many years that is. And I have never once seen a person of color in any of these situations, except when I was about 15 or 16. I was with a doctor who was, granted they weren't black, but they were Indian, and they were still asked, "Oh, are you sure? Are you sure?" They were consistently being questioned on their knowledge. And it's like, is this the way that, like, this person's like trained? This person went through medical school. This person knows what they're talking about. And while we do have free 99 healthcare here, there is still so many people who are not able to claim that. And all of the people who are claiming it are very white, or like me, mixed race but white presenting. And it's even then, and like even when I was like even going on to like services like BetterHelp has been like my lifesaver through this pandemic. But even when I signed up for that, it was like, what race are you? What is your race? And I was like, why are they asking this question? And it never dawned on me because it had never been brought up in situations here, like how people of different races, how people who are black go through so many different regular microaggressions every single day and are completely disregarded and just told like, oh, that's just what you should expect because it's your skin color, and how negatively that affects people's mental health. So I feel like it's been a huge learning curve, even for me, like just seeing all of this within the last few months and experiencing a lot of it firsthand as well. Granted, from a different perspective, but still experiencing a lot of it.
Insane that you say how like they had to kept asking them like if like they were sure. That's like I don't really understand like how people can like even think like to It's like it boggles me. I know. Like I know. Well, like when you mentioned about like how you have like quote unquote free healthcare, that just made me think about like another something else like press policy I want to talk about, especially for us Americans, about how since we don't have free healthcare, and so it's hard. It's harder for us to be able to be able to get access to like the ability to get the help, to seek, to like to find like to really get the resources to do it, because since we don't have like we can send like because since we don't have universal healthcare, so it's to be able to pay for it, to find out how to be able to get this help. So it brings me to the into my next question about like what like barrier or roadblocks that can like that make it difficult to find the help and support that we might need, like because whether it be like healthcare or and like just any other kind of like barriers. Do you want to start, Issa, this time?
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's like recently trying to, I guess, find these resources, one thing that I've noticed, and like I'm the type of person that like I'm not gonna jump into anything without asking a million questions first, without Googling a bunch of shit first. Like I'm not even gonna start the first process without having a concrete plan. So before I even like myself personally started looking for therapy, I asked all of my Black friends outright, like, girl, what's the tea? And the majority of them, and as myself, as I've started to like look for therapists myself, like it's just really fucking overwhelming. Like there's an overwhelming amount of options, and there aren't a lot of, for lack of a better term, education or like educators put in place to tell you how to sort through stuff. Not only that, but it's like from what a lot of my Black friends are telling me, that it's like once you find a therapist, there's no guarantee that that's going to be the one that you're going to stick with. Like you're going to keep cycling through people until you find someone for you. And that can be not only overwhelming, that can be exhausting. You start to probably like question a lot of them questions like, is there something wrong with me that I don't want to deal with these fucking racist ass therapists? You know what I mean? Or these misogynist therapists or these transphobic therapists, which like, I think the therapists and mental health people are like definitely put on this like pedestal of like, they know everything, like they're going to be there for you. But it's like a lot of them are like still fucking white people. A lot of them are still going to say racist, transphobic, homophobic, queerphobic, like horophobic, just like fucked up shit to you. And it's like cycling through all, it like becomes to be like this weird like Tinder dating thing almost in a way. So it's like having all of these overwhelming options, not having a vocabulary to like advocate for yourself, like it just becomes a lot. And I've only been looking for like 2 or 3 weeks and like asking questions from like friends and family for like maybe like the last, well actually for a while now. I've been asking a lot of questions for like 6 or 7 months, and I still barely have a grasp on like where to even begin, where to like really start. And I think that within itself speaks to a lot about like how flawed our like mental health care system is, specifically in America. Like there should already be practices in places to make this process so much easier than it already is. And it feels like there's already a barrier before you even start. So it's like you finally get your health insurance, you finally get your health care that like you need, and then it's like, okay, now we have to go through this crapshoot of constantly advocating for yourself. And I don't know, it's a lot.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, like, because that's something that I've been doing with my partners, like finding a therapist for them as well, is that this whole notion of like, I feel like a lot of times we don't tend to seek out therapy until we like desperately need it. And so by the time you're already at the point to like want to look for therapy, you're already at a point where you're like, I need someone like right now. And so the idea of like your spoons are already out the window by the time you're looking for a therapist. So it's like you already don't have, a lot of times most people don't have the mental space and capacity to keep searching for somebody. And so that's been a hard thing of trying encouraging them, because like we found someone and it just wasn't for them, like because it's like they didn't understand sort of this certain things going on in their life, and it was like, okay, this is clearly not the person for you. And like keeping them motivated and be like, don't get discouraged. It was like, because I have some other friends who do go to therapy, and I already know for a fact that like not every therapist is going to be for everyone. And so it's the hard thing of like having someone to keep encourage you to keep looking for somebody, to like keep finding somebody, and also like in the resources, because like yes, there are affordable options and there are affordable healthcare options, but they're so hidden. It's like it's you to dig so much. It's like it's asking people, it's like digging through things, digging through sites, and calling people, and it's like that's just again like a lot of work as like a to get something that you may need urgently, and I think it's designed almost in that way to make sure to kind of weed people out. It's like, okay, let's weed out the people who are gonna do like and kind of hopefully limit how many people are actually coming through by putting all those hurdles in place so that way by the time you get there it's only a few people, but it's like, okay, the people who have the spoons to do all that work, it's like great, those people still need that help, but also there's a lot of people who don't have the time or energy, or like before, like those people who are working all the time and like are raising families and stuff like that and literally do not have the time to sit there for hours a day searching for stuff. It's like ain't nobody got time for that. Like like no one got time for all that. And so it's also, I think, onto these companies and these places to work harder to make it more accessible. It's like, if you're going to have these accessible options, don't just have it as like a footnote on your website. Like, have it as something that is blatantly easy to find and accessible, and and something that's not just a way to make money by just getting people who are willing to pay for the expensive therapy, but like, if you're going to offer affordable therapy, make it accessible for people to access it. Yeah, I think it works. Oftentimes, a lot of the system works against the people who need it the most,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate.
I honestly agree because sometimes they do like sometimes it's very hard to be like, and they make it hard to be able to find these things. It's like especially for almost like people like black people, like people like us. I feel like they kind of like they aim it to try to keep us away from that, or like to maybe to keep in a way to keep us down almost, and not like to be able to like get that, because like it's like I don't know where it's done from, that like to maybe that like why they won't they don't exactly make it accessible to us. It could be. What about you, Nikki? What are your thoughts about barriers or roadblocks are keeping us that keep us from being able to find these resources?
I don't know. I think there's like a whole aspect of the whole thing of if we don't have the spoons to fight, like if we don't have the spoons to fight, then we're still gonna stay down.
Yeah.
And there's a whole, like, I feel like that's just kind of the root of a lot of the reasons why it's harder for people of color to get the support that we need, because like Luke was saying, it's nearly impossible to find so many of these resources that we need. Like, if I wish, I'm going to put it out to chat right now. If anyone knows of anywhere that specializes in therapy or services or anything for people of color, reach out to me. I want to make a database that's all of these where people can easily find it. Because if we can't find it, we can't get better. And if we can't get better, we can't fight the system to help other people who need it to get better. I don't know. That was just like, that was kind of word vomity, but like, I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of emotions that are just building up right now. And I'm trying very hard to stay calm.
You're feeling the valid. You're feeling the very. I get that. No, I did a lot. I also want to say, but I'm trying to keep it under wraps. To let other people. Yeah. Thank you. That's it would be amazing if you really could make a database like that to be able to like put out there, because that would help a lot of people out. So yeah, if anyone in chat does have any kind of resources that they would like to share, please send it our way, because that would be amazing to be able to get it out there and share it with people who might not be able to find it or be able to like get to it. What about you, Dion?
I've tried. I'm still on the hunt, because it's like, it's not like buying a house.
Yeah.
It's like this is like the most personal. It's like on top of finding a doctor at that, like just like for checkups and stuff. So I've like looked around. Some places don't take your insurance. Some places do take your insurance. Like I looked at like Talkspace and like BetterHelp, and they're like, okay, so who do you want to be paired up with? And I'm like, my ideal therapist situation would be a Black gay man or a Black woman. If it's a straight Black man or cis Black, as long as they understand LGBT and like things like that, they'll be great. But I don't know if you guys have ever been on like Talkspace and BetterHelp, like how you like check things off, and then at the end, I get a list of white people, and I'm like, I didn't click for them to pop up, so where's the Black people at? And they're like, well, this person specifies or specializes in this. This person specializes in this. I'm like, so you don't have any Black people that specialize in X, Y, and Z? So it's still a battle to search. I would say I do watch certain things, like different things on Instagram, or like as much as I don't know if you guys have heard of the Fix My Life show with Iyanla Van Zandt. Like I
Iyanla?
know
Oh my God.
she gets a lot of grief for like, she's so dramatic and she's doing this, but honestly, that is some free therapy. If you put, depending on the episode, if you put yourself in your situation, in certain situations, that clears up a whole bunch of stuff. Like there's people that go to their grave with thoughts on how their parents raised them, or when their parents did this. And your parents knew what they knew. If you can accept that your parents knew what they knew at that time, did the best they can do at that time, and move on from that, or try to take the swallow the pill and be like, okay, because they were once my age and that's all they knew. I'm not going to hold it over their head. I'll address it. And another thing, me and my sister were talking about, like breaking generational curses. Like, okay, maybe you grew up and people are like, oh, we don't talk about that, or we don't do that here. Well, this generation, we're going to talk about it and address it, so the next generation doesn't have to feel the way we felt. No matter how many heads turn or eyes rolled, it's like, well, I care about me and the way I grew up, or depending on how anyone grew up, this X, Y, and Z didn't work for me. So since I had the power to take care of myself and do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to change things and do things that way. And it's just a lot of reflecting and putting people in certain situations or scenarios and looking at things differently that's helping. I talked to my mom. Issa, you were mentioning you talk to your mom, I think 3 times a week. I talked to my mom, well, recently. Like we're not like on bad terms like that or anything, but it's just like the way we were brought up. It was very, your kids are good kids. We're always like the prize, like the good kids, good family, but we would never really talk like that. Like we'll be in the car and it would just be silent. And my loud gay ass just be talking the whole time and stuff. But it would be very, we go somewhere, you behave, you do this, but we're inside, we're just like, so what is life? So like I just recently started talking to my parents, well, my mom on the phone, maybe once or twice a month, and we're on the phone for a good hour. It's not like dead silence or anything, but it's like babies, like you can be mad at a parent or feel a way about a parent, but if you're not doing your part, like a ball isn't going to just drop from the ceiling. Okay, everything's fixed. Like you have to do your part. And if they want to do their part, they can. But at the end of the day, if you can say you did your part, then you can sleep at night like that. So I think just resources and like YouTubing, following certain people, reading books, it helps. There are things that help in the meantime while you're searching, because the end goal is to find someone. Like you can have a drink or smoke or do something to like cope for right now, but the high is going to wear off. You're going to sober up and you're going to be faced with the same demons or situations again. So I think just finding creative outlets in the meantime, like even when I perform, like that's a creative outlet. Like this whole pandemic, like not being on stage and just like, I just need to like, it's like you need your medicine and stuff. But I think in the meantime, finding creative outlets, but I really hope I find someone soon, because it'd be nice to have someone to talk to, like therapy wise. And I think if people can erase nothing's wrong, you're not crazy. You just need someone to talk to. And then you need someone, when you talk to them, they're going to like say, well, how do you feel about this? And then this, and then that. And then everything just will kind of make sense. You'll know how to address certain things and not default to old behaviors or default to old actions and things like that. So I think just finding outlets in the meantime while searching, because it's going to be a long hard search for most people. Some people can find a therapist and boom, they're done, but it's going to be some shopping around. From what I hear, people who have therapists and who've been with therapists, they've been with 1 or 2 or 3 until they found like the one they actually like and stick with. So it's going to be a process, but I think it's a process worth searching for.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I get that, because it can very much take a very while to be able to find, especially what you're looking for. Because I know how you were saying how like you were definitely wanting like a therapist who was like black, like a black or gay, or like a white, like, or a black woman, and I understand wanting like to find these specific things, like specific kinds of people who specialize in certain things, because they'll be able to, because you know that they'll be able to help you better because they understand you and understand what you're going through, especially like I don't want to assume that you are like gay, like you're gay, but like yeah, but like so like you since you would want like a black gay man to like a therapist, like I get that, because they know what we as a black gay man, like what you go through, and so it's like it would be nice to be able to find someone who has like who can have the same, like have a very similar perspective on it, to be able to help you and understand you way better. I 100% agree. Yeah. What about you, Sabrina?
So not to cover what everyone else said, I'll bring my own personal reason. So the biggest barrier for me has pretty much been myself, which is kind of crazy to say, because like I know, or I knew at the time, that I needed help. I like had anxiety, depression, but you know, sometimes the voices in your head convince you, you know, like my big thing was like, I felt like I wasn't even worth the trouble of even getting help. Like I was like, what therapist would want to even, you know, why would they care about me? Like, you know, I don't even care about me, you know, or like, you know, what if they tell me I'm crazy? You know, what if they tell me they can't help me? What if, you know, you have more problems than you think? It's always a what if, instead of just taking that first step. And I think a lot of people, the first step is really hard. It's something that, you know, during the pandemic, I've been working on, because I've been through a lot of intense situations and I never took the first step for myself. You know, not taking it, you know, for someone else, not taking it, you know, to appear to look like something else, just for who you are as an individual, and taking care and loving yourself. And so, you know, now that I'm a lot older, on top of, you know, the difficulties of getting even the right therapist, you know, even wanting to even like get that in the first place, you know, can be a hurdle in itself, when you're currently like living through like anxiety and like imposter syndrome, and feeling like you're not good enough, and feeling like, you know, everyone has it out for you. Like these are like, I feel like a lot of people, maybe even in chat, they're probably like, I need help, but I don't know if I'm ready, or there's things that you convince yourself to not do it because you're afraid. You know, I think fear was my biggest barrier. And, you know, fear of the outcome, you know, fear of looking inwardly at myself, like, you know, fear of, you know, dealing with the situations I've been through head on, you know, bringing up those traumas, bringing up those insecurities, bringing up those painful times. Because you're going to talk about it in therapy. If you really want the healing and the help, it's going to have to come up. You're going to have to look at it, you know, and deal with it for what it is. And so in my personal life, whenever I don't know how something's going to, you know, the outcome's going to be, I just don't do it. I'm just like, no thanks, or I don't need to. And I try to play it cool, like, you know, I don't need to, but it's, you know, I do, you know. And so I think, you know, taking that first step and pushing yourself to do something out of your comfort zone that is going to help you in the long run, for me personally, was like my biggest barrier. Yeah.
I honestly, yeah, it really is, because like I really resonate with that too, because, and especially with personally, well, not personally friend, but like for one, like I was talking about like my partner, how he deals with like, for one, he deals with a lot, and especially one of his biggest things that he deals with is like he never got help himself because of his own self and his own like insecurities about and his own like social like his own anxiety. He didn't like and I see that a lot where people don't get help because of themselves. Like they're like that their own that them themselves is their own like their own barrier, and that like and I'm glad that I'm sorry that you've been overcome that, be able to get that for yourself, because that's honestly like to be able to for you to be able to push through that like those feelings. It's like it just shows us the strength that you really do have. This that to be able to finally go seek the help that you like that you knew that you needed. And I love that you were able to finally like that you pushed yourself through that. It's amazing. I'm glad that you all have like pushed yourself to seek that help, because that's the best thing that you can always do for yourself is to push yourself. Yeah, what were you saying?
I just want to say, like, to add on to Cyberina's thing, it's like when I first one of my first times going into something, I was literally told, "Oh, you're just being dramatic," and I was like sitting there like suicidal thoughts and all that jazz, the usual. And I feel like with people of color, it's so easy to just be labeled as the angry black woman, the angry black guy, like, oh, they're just aggressive. But if I'm just gonna put this out there, if your therapist is saying that to you, they should not be a therapist. And going through so many therapists, like I think I've seen about like 15 in my entire time, going through so many therapists to try and find that right one, it's tiring. It's so tiring. But for anyone in chat who feels like you're getting nowhere, just keep going, because that therapist does show up. They are there. And like my therapist at the moment, she's a mixed race woman. She's from the US. She's absolutely amazing, and we relate to each other so much. And I wouldn't, if I had stopped and I'd stuck with all those white people who were just telling me that I was being dramatic, I wouldn't be here today. So if I can give one term of endearment, it's please just keep going, and please keep looking. And we're here with you.
Journey. Like
Yeah.
you'll have bad weeks. Like I'll have like just days where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just can't wait to go home and not be at work, or go home and do this, and it's just bad, and you're searching, and then you feel better, and you're like, okay, I'm fine for right now. But you're gonna feel that way when you're in therapy. You'll have days where you really want to talk to your therapist, and I feel like there's gonna be days where you're just jolly and happy and you're talking to your therapist. So because you feel better, or you've sloped, or whatever the term is, I don't know the term for that, but when you feel better, you're like, oh, okay, I'm fine. It's like, okay, no, you're not fine. It's just not the issues are pressing you at the moment. They'll be back. They always come back. But I feel like even when you're in therapy, you're gonna have downtime where you're just like in your head and feelings, and you just really need to talk to your therapist. And then you'll have meetings, I feel like, where you're just regular. You're like, I had a great day today. So that's my problem. That's how I put it off. It was like, okay, need to find therapists. Okay, I feel better now. Okay, and it's just like, so I was like, just find one, and that's my goal, just to find one, because the feeling's always going to come back.
Yeah, I think also something else that when y'all are speaking to remind me of, also I feel like, I think also in general, I think everyone should also look into signs of like depression and anxiety and stuff like that, just because I feel like a lot of times, especially when I was in college, I think sometimes my friends would be like, oh, you're being a flake, or you're being really lazy because you spent all day on the couch, and just certain things that I don't think I hadn't fully realized that were signs of depression, or signs of anxiety that I think also they didn't realize, and so it just perpetuated that feeling by being told I was lazy a lot, or I'm constantly a flake, and like I've also learned as myself as to be like to be more aware of when I'm getting into that space, and be like, hey, just now I'm aware that like I'm not feeling great mentally, so that's why I'm canceling plans. So it's not just like I don't feel like it. But at the time when I didn't have the words and the terms for it, I was just like, I just don't feel like it, and like I can't bust up the spoons to like go to this event, or like I literally cannot will myself out of bed today, and like it's not me being lazy, but it's literally like I cannot get out of bed. And so I think also like I don't put my friends for it because that's the same thing. Like, I feel like none of us had the vocabulary for it, and now we're all much better about it. But definitely, I think looking out for that and knowing also ways to not perpetuate with that with other people is really big. And so, not that it's anyone's responsibility to take care of your mental health, but I think just looking out for that and just realizing, or if you realize it's a repeated pattern, it's like, okay, something's probably going on here. It's probably not just like they're having a lazy Sunday, but like something's going on here. So, like, maybe let me check in with them, see what's going on. So, therefore, I'm not because I feel like, especially for me, like I think that put off so much of me dealing with it is because I kept hearing that a lot and then thinking like, oh, maybe I am just being a really bad friend right now by like canceling plans all the time, or maybe I am being really lazy when it's like, okay, I'd actually been like working like crazy all week, and then like finally it all catching up to me once every, like going to conservatory and then like working and like doing shows. It was like not catching your breath, and then it all catching up to you like by Thanksgiving break, and then like not leaving bed for a whole week, and it's like, oh, okay, it's like I'm realizing now what's like going on. But like, a lot of that, like Sabrina said, it was like your own stuff getting in your own way. And I think making sure that you aren't perpetuating that or contributing to the people around you that you love, it's like really try to keep an eye out and like, keep in mind, like see what people are going through, and like and be like, all right, like something's going on here, let me check in with them. And at least nothing else, like communicate with people, just like talk to people, and like even if we don't know all the signs, be like, hey, are you okay, like what's going on, like keep creating a space where your friends will be able to open up to you, because I think that's also a big way to help get over some of those feelings of not feeling good enough to do certain things, is being like having people who are constantly telling you, no, please go seek out, like please go keep pushing for that, like please keep searching, like you got this, like it's okay, you're not crazy, you're not lazy, like something's going on, like I need you to keep going, for like having people encourage you. And sometimes it's hard to encourage people when they don't know what you're going through or don't know something's going on, especially because I feel like a lot of mental illnesses, like like a physical pain where it's like, oh, like no, your knee's not physically bleeding so you don't see it, so so it's like a lot of mental health things are things you can't physically see on someone all the time, so you don't always register that it's a mental health issue until like it gets to really drastic level. It's like, oh, someone's doing something very drastic, so therefore now I know that they seriously need help, but it's like you don't want to wait till really drastic step. You want to try to catch it much earlier than that and manage it before it gets to be something bigger. So yeah, I think a lot of that is like keeping eye out and just having awareness of other people, and like look out for people. I love you, Nikki.
Yeah.
Sitting here.
I was just like, oops, sorry.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say like that really hits home, because it took me years to get a proper diagnosis, and no one paid attention to me until I actually like reached that point of having to be held back from the end. And the fact that it was just a case of everything will be fine, just take these pills for years, and not like that just hits home quite a bit.
I think it's also
Make me cry.
virtual hug.
But I love you.
Sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. No, it's a place where you can be as vulnerable. You can it's a safe place where I'm thank you for just being so vulnerable with us all here. I'm like, we're here for you. Like honestly, I love you, Nikki.
Love you too.
Thank you so much. Yeah, but everyone chat, everyone check up on your people, check on everyone to make sure that we're that your friends, family are all good, because we have to be because the one thing that anyone can need just to make sure that you just to make because some people may need that, just to ask, for someone to ask them if you're doing are you doing okay, just check up on your people. And And one way you can check up on us. Like if you feel like check up on us. Maybe we're doing a little bit. So you know what, you guys know what you guys can do. Can I get some reps in chat? Give us some reparation. Give us some reparation because that's a great way to check up on us to make sure that we have some coin in our pocket for our panelists that are here like being vulnerable, giving us their time. So if you want to if you're feeling generous, give us some reparations. To help support us and just to help. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for just being so vulnerable. I'm saying that like we're ending. We're not. We still plenty more to talk about. One thing I did want to talk about, if you guys are you are okay. You ready? You were. My alarm. I wanted to talk about. Do you guys find it hard to talk to people about these things, like your mental health?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I not fished out friends, but I'll know who I can and can't talk to about certain things. Not that they're a bad friend or anything. It's just that they're not they can't take on that mental responsibility of listening at the time. And that's totally fine. At the start, I'd be rude, but it's no. If they can't take that on, sometimes I can't. If someone's coming to me for stuff, I can't. And it's good to know that you have those friends. I'll be on FaceTime with one of my friends. They're like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're something's wrong, and it's okay, fine. And then you just pour your guts. But I think after a while, you kind of fish out of who, when you vent to them, how the process is. You can vent to X, Y, and Z, but other friends just aren't able to assist at that time. That's totally fine, and they're not a bad friend or anything. I do think I posted something a couple years ago on Facebook. I was everyone always asks, "Hey, how's it going?" But everyone's always ready for that. "Oh, I'm fine." They're not ready for the other answer. "Oh, how's it going today?" "Oh, fine." Everyone's used to that. Everyone's programmed to, okay, that's what it is. Instead of, actually today, I feel like shit. And I mean, can we cuss in here? Oops.
Yeah.
But I feel bad.
I already happened, so you're good.
I just want to go home. I just especially now, it's I need a hug, or I need to touch a person, or I need to feel there's a human, or I just don't feel. And no one's ever. I wouldn't say everyone, but some people aren't ready for that other answer. And I think if some people are more open to that. It's you asked how I was, and I didn't give you the default I'm okay answer. I gave you the, well, actually, here's what's going on with me. So I think that's still something even that I'm still struggling with. If people are "Oh, how are you?" I'm "Oh, I'm fine," depending on how the relationship is, or if I know them or not. But it's good that I do have some friends who are "You're lying. What's wrong?" And I'm "All right."
I think there's a huge difference between. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Luke.
But I was gonna say also normalizing talking to the friend to be "Hey, is it cool if I unload it?" If they haven't checked in with you, be "Hey, is it cool if I unload on you?" Making sure be "Are you in this?" Checking with friends to be "Are you in a space to do?" I'm definitely someone that people feel comfortable unloading to, but I've had people in the club, while I'm already tipsy, being "Here's my whole life story," and I'm "This is not the place." While I'm drunk and trying to have my two-step in the club is not the place for you to unload all of your trauma. And it's I love that you feel comfortable doing this with me, but also maybe check in because I was having a great night until you unloaded your whole life. So it's knowing a time and place, and same thing you said, you'll have friends you'll kind of know, all right, I know we have a relationship where we can talk about this, but also checking people, especially people you may not know as well, and still getting to know and be "Hey, can we talk about this? Are you in a good mental space for this?" Because there are times, even though I'm someone who's receptive, sometimes I'm I'm not in a place that I can handle this, and be
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I am. But sometimes I'm just I'm not in a place where I can take this on, and it's about that give and take of reading your friends, and also knowing when they're not in a place as well, and knowing what friends are probably not in a place to handle what you have to unload as well. It's looking out for each other and that same. Yeah, I fully agree with that. Of let's check in and like make sure that we're both in a place where we can do that. Yeah. What were we gonna say, Nikki?
I was just gonna say, I think that like I always talk to my friends about this, and we all agree that there's a huge difference between being like, how's it going, and how are you? And I feel like every time like you interact with someone, they're like, how's it going? How's it going? It's like you were saying, Dion, about the whole oh yeah, I'm fine. But then it's like, no, but like, how are you? Is sometimes what you just need to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I was gonna say, for me personally, it's pretty hard. Depending on where I am. So like IRL, I'm like the strong person, I guess you can say. Like I'm like very aggressive. I'm very like, I've durable, everything bounces off me, everything rolls off my back. I'm out here, I'm from New York, like, it is what it is. And a lot of people think that's me all the time. A lot of people think that's like me every existence of my day. Like I don't cry, like I don't need, a shoulder to lean on, like I don't need friends. So it's like whenever I'm going through it, they're like, really? Like you normally are always so together. And it's like, yeah, girl, because I've been together for years and haven't had no help. Like, so in my real life, I really don't even bother at this point, like really opening up, because it's like I have like met so many amazing people through Twitch and like through the internet and through gaming and through life. That's normally where I go to, because I feel like when you are the strong person in your friend group, or you are the strong person in your family, I'm the strong person in my family, and my family leans on me for advice, emotional support. I'm the person that's going to pick you up when you fall. Sometimes I feel like I'm forgotten about. I feel like sometimes I'm like, well, they're always going to pick me up. So, I mean, they obviously are up and together. And it's like, one foot goes up, the other foot's down, vice versa. Like we have to support each other. So I think that's just a huge thing. And it's something that I've been working on, even with being more vulnerable, because I've always conditioned myself to be strong and to be, a rock, and to be, there for everyone. That, opening up, maybe shedding a few more tears, maybe even saying more than usual, I'm not okay. Maybe setting my boundaries that like I'm not available or I can't, because, I feel like it's so easy to forget about yourself, like being there for everyone. And like that in itself makes it harder for you to open up, because you almost feel like, I don't know, for me, I feel like sometimes I'm betraying the people I'm supposed to help if I can't help them, and that makes me not want to open up, makes me want to be distant. So, it has its ups and downs with being more open, which is why, like, when I saw Nikki crying, like, it really touched me, because it's like, wow, like, you're so comfortable in your own skin to be so vulnerable. Like, it's beautiful. It really is. And it really touched me, because I think vulnerability is so important. And yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's been a lot of like what I really enjoyed about Twitch is like I feel like for instance, like I'm not great at video games. I know people are not tuning in for the gameplay on my stream. It's like it's usually the conversation. It was like, listen, Lily, if you want to see someone play games well, like I'd the channel. If you want to see someone like hysterically like scream at the screen while running into a wall, like I'm your person. But or like be crafting things. But a lot of it, I think for me, is a conversation. And so like I love, even though sometimes I don't have the spoon enough to stream because of my mental health, I love then the next time I am on stream being like, let's talk about like why I didn't stream the other day. Like let's, or like be like, I wasn't in a great space, or like being able to have that conversation, or, even if I can't like speak about it, like even just mention, be like, hey, today is not great. I'm going through it. Like being able to, like I've been able to normalize talking about it a lot more. And that's been really helpful for me to just, I think having transparency is sort of always been a big thing for me. And so like being like, okay, like, yeah, let me be transparent about the things that are also like going on. And so that's been really helpful for me over these like almost 6 months now being on Twitch, of like being able to say like, okay, like here's the reality, here's what's going on. And like, even if I don't, fully get into all the details of everything with my chat, like just being able to like just get the words out more often, it's just helpful. And that's also, I guess, essentially why therapy is so helpful, is because you're getting the words out just with someone who's like there to help you help you get the words out, but it's like just getting it out sometimes is like the first step is just saying those things and like admitting it and being like, yeah, things are rough or like things are not going great today, and like just getting it out of the body. And it takes so much. Cause I agree with you. Like a lot of times, like being the strong friend makes you want to put your feelings on the back burner, and so it's really hard to just be like, no, like actually, bitch, let me put on the front burner. Like actually, today we are gonna talk about me. Like today actually is about me.
Yes.
Right? Like sometimes you're like, actually, yeah, like today is my day to talk about how I'm feeling, and like I'll still be there for people, but like I also need every now and then to say it. I always say that I'm like an emotional sham. Wow, I'm like I feel a lot, but also at some point you gotta squeeze me out. Like at some point I gotta squeeze it out. Like I can handle a lot, but like I can't always handle it all the time, and like I need those days to release. And yeah, especially that's the same. Everyone always says check on your strong friends. Like we really mean it. Like really do check on. If you've been unloading on someone a lot lately, like like be like okay, like I realize like I've been loading on you a lot. Like how are you doing? Like really make sure you're doing that. Like check in with your friends. Don't just keep assuming they're fine. It's like really do check in on your strong friends, even if it's occasionally. Just do something is better than nothing. Just to be like, hey, I know I put a lot on you. How are you doing? Like, are you okay? Like, are you in a good place to handle this? I know I've been loading on you a lot. Like, do that. Do that for your friend. That goes such a long way.
Yeah.
And I feel like even piggybacking off of like transparency, and like I feel like Dion can attest to this too. Like drag for the most part is like kind of just moved completely digital. And I know a lot of us as performers, like as live performers, we got our serotonin from like being in front of a crowd, getting that energy from a crowd. And the kind of mentality I've always kind of had with drag is like, I just don't say no to gigs. Like, if you have a gig for me, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna perform. And that also was kind of like always a double-edged sword, because there were a lot of times there were gigs I was saying yes to that like I didn't necessarily want to do. And kind of coming and like learning that like saying no is like a really big part of like mental health. Like I've been saying no to a lot of digital stuff lately, and like kind of releasing the guilt of that, of like turning down work essentially, because like the work doesn't necessarily bring me joy right now, and I'm not necessarily experiencing joy right now. And taking on something that like I don't necessarily want to do isn't gonna help bring me any joy. And I don't know. I just feel like being like transparent is like just so fucking important, and something that like we as Black people, I feel like, have been taught not to do. I feel like we're taught that all like there's always a negative spin on Blackness. When we're depressed, it's not depression, we're lazy. When we're feeling something intensely, it's not passionate, it's aggressive. Like everything from the jump, just like people of color are like just bunted into the ground over and over again. And the way like when you're bunted into the ground over and over again, and you live in this capitalist society where it's like working and productivity and making money is all that matters. You just get used to saying yes, 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 yes. And it's, especially with streamers, I'm imagining like I'm just now starting to like kind of get into streaming. I'm like really bad with technology, but I'm learning that like consistency is extremely key with basically honestly any platform, not just Twitch, not just like all algorithms reward you for consistently being there every day and consistently posting, consistently putting out content, regardless of how you're feeling. And that is really detrimental to an artist's health. Like, I don't think artists are necessarily meant to put out content in that way. I don't think artists are constantly meant to say yes, but we just live in this really fucking shitty society where it's like productivity matters way more than like how you're feeling that day. And I guess in like some ways too, like that can be the content, just talking about how like, yo, so like today, like I'm not feeling it. Like we're gonna talk about why I'm not feeling it today. Or like, no, I'm gonna say no to this gig today. And like as my friend, because like I want you to continue booking me. That's also another thing too. Like as a queen, I was always afraid to say no to anything, because it's like, if I say no to this, will they book me again later? And or if I say no to this, will they think that I'm difficult? And it's a mind fuck, because sometimes like I'm probably going to be difficult at this gig now because I didn't want to be here. And or I'm probably not going to give you my best work for this digital show because I didn't want to do this. And just learning to like really be okay with saying no, and really being okay with being transparent with your feelings. And it's like, if your audience and these people who are like coming to see you and these people that are coming to book you really truly like believe in your art and like believe in you, they'll be okay with you saying no and like you being transparent. And I think like being more and more transparent as a society is going to make it okay to not be so fucking productive all of the time. And like, fingers crossed that when like things do go back to quote unquote normal, like it'll be okay to be transparent. I feel like we're all being so transparent and like open with our feelings right now because we're all just at home and there's nothing else to do. And I'm really hoping that those feelings of like transparency like definitely transfer over into the like, I don't even know what, I don't even want to like call it back to normal because it like nothing will ever be back to normal in my mind personally. But it's like when things go back to normal, hopefully like we'll take everything that we've learned from this isolation about ourselves and like put that and apply that to the world is what I'm really, really hoping happens. Or otherwise all this was for nothing.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely been a benefit, even though like quarantine's been really rough for a lot of reasons. I think I always joke, I was like, there's a lot of people who haven't had the time to be alone with their thoughts, who've had the time now to be with their thoughts, and like that can be both a good thing and a bad thing. But I think a lot of it, it's also why I'm kind of giving a lot of people a benefit of the doubt when people are kind of like spreading out a lot online. I'm like, okay, you also just haven't had this space to be with them, like getting the same serotonin boost that you might have had before, or like you're now processing things that you didn't get to process a while ago. And I think especially like having always been like in the theater and then doing drag, and especially in the scene that I do drag, where it's very much like if you're not constantly doing stuff, like you're not known. And so this idea of like having to constantly produce things and constantly be better than your last number is really hard. And I've same thing with you. It's like I've had numbers I've been really proud of and done a lot of really high production for during quarantine, and also numbers that I'm like, I felt horrible sending the video in. I've been like, I told my chat, like, please don't see this show. Like, I'm or like see it, but like skip my number, like just turn away to my number when you hear my name announced. Or like, I won't reuse the number because I hate the quality of it. And I feel bad because then I'm like, this person booked me because they saw that really high quality number. And I know that they booked me because they were expecting certain quality content. And then I gave them this and I feel really bad. That's what I'm delivering, and then it makes me feel like shit because I'm like, okay, now I hate what I put out in the world.
Feeling bad about using anything ever because we're not getting, and this is just tea, we're not getting paid enough to be producing consistently high quality content all of the time, and that's something that I'm like starting to
drag.
Oh my god, digital drag. I don't think people realize how much effort it takes to be your own makeup artist, costume director, editor. Like you're doing so much,
and so little shows have booking fees. And like so little shows now have booking fees. Like I really appreciate the hosts that are trying to find ways to make sure that their people are getting paid, but it's really hard. Obviously without venues where you can charge cover fees and like have the systems of a bar or venue to like supplement paying a booking fee. So it's like I've noticed a lot more shows are trying to find ways to get sponsorships and find ways to pay their people. But in general, it's still mostly reliant on like the tips of people seeing the show. And so also like we get it. People are tapped out of money. Like no one is financially stable as they used to be. So it's like, it's also really hard, and like we get that like the audience members are not like rolling into all the time, but it's like, okay, I've done so many things where I've done numbers and like gotten either $0 in tips or gotten like maybe $5 in tips just because of the nature of that digital show. And it's like I've spent at least 12 hours filming and editing this thing and like makeup and outfits and all this stuff to maybe make $5 is really hard. And that's why I reuse numbers. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're gonna see this number 10 times until I make back what I put into it, because like, and like, it's a good number. So therefore, if I'm reusing it, I like it, and like, it's going to be enjoyable, but also like, I'm going to reuse it because this took a lot. And like, I need to like be, and like also that mentality of like feeling you need to keep creating new things. It's like, no, like this is a lot of work. And like, I can't keep creating new stuff all the time. And that's been one of 2021 goals for myself, is to say no to more projects, because like I had to be more in check with myself with being like, okay, like can I do right now? No, not all the time.
Oh my god. I'm gonna be a little bit shady. And I have had people come to me and be like, you need to stop reusing this number. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna stop reusing this number. Literally, I have spent.
Hit me 100, then I can stop.
It took like I've created five digital drag numbers now at this point, and all of them I've put so much effort, so much time, so much energy into. I literally spent like a week editing, filming, and doing all of this, you're going to see my more and more performance more and more times. You're going to see this icy performance until the next Ice Age is out. Like, I'm proud of it. I've worked so hard on it. Stop shaming me for literally showing off what I've done. I can't keep producing this. This isn't the same as going out to a club and going on stage and doing it like a lip sync number. It's completely different. We've created music videos that are literally like the kind of things that you'd see from these big, massive corporations that have millions of dollars going into these
with
productions.
no teams behind it.
Exactly, with no teams
That
behind us.
part, yeah.
Stop shaming us for stop shaming us for being proud and showing off the work that we have done.
Yeah. Yeah, like I remember at the end of the year, I did like a recap of like the numbers I'd done, and I calculated, and I think I had gotten up to like 35 drag numbers, and like most of them I would not show again. Which is upsetting because it's like that means a good portion of them I spent a lot of work and don't want to re-show ever again because of the quality of them. Because I was just like, I said yes to the gig, and it was a very specific theme, so I did the number, and then I was like, I hate this number, and like I hate what I've done, and so I threw it out. But also that sucks because that's so much productivity that is down the drain. And you also think about like also like I don't know about y'all, but like I do reuse numbers in real life too. I will also, it's a little easier because it's like depending on the bar, the different audiences. So if I know it's not the same crowd, I'm like, okay, if it's not the same crowd, and like I know this number still works for both crowds, I might reuse it, and I'll space it out. So I might reuse that song, like I'll space it out and do it like a month or so later. But like I do that, and so it's like, and like everything now that I see a performer in person, like reuse a number, and I'm not gonna be mad at them and be like, okay, girl, like you know the lyrics of that song and you love that number, like it makes sense why you did it again at this other venue because like it's your number, you know. And it's like I don't know, it's so weird when people shame that for digital drag. It's like the same thing happens in real life, you just don't notice it. But I was like, performers, you know, reuse numbers. That's why like certain performers have iconic numbers because they've done them enough times that people are like, oh, I know that is a so-and-so number, and like I know that iconic number. It's like, think of it as like we just have iconic numbers that we're showing, and you know, and it's like I try to, you know, space out like stuff so that's not the same number all week, but also it's like, yeah, like you're gonna see stuff again because it takes a lot of work. And also like same thing of that, back to the mental health of the idea of like it, you know, especially with whatever else we're dealing with, also the fact that we have enough energy and the spoons to create this number, you're gonna see it because like I put work into it, and like this is the serotonin boost I have right now is how proud I am of the work that I did, you know.
And you know, because because how you guys were saying like because like how like it takes money and all this effort to put into making these content, these digital drag shows, and and people expect so much like more. They expect you to keep producing more and more. But you know what? If you want us to keep producing more, why don't you do exclamation mark reps in chat? Give us a reformation. Because then maybe we can, give us the coin. Give us the coin. Give us that coin to be able to produce more things. Like, hit them exclamation reps, donate to us, give our panelists some coins so we can make some more of those high quality fucking drag numbers. Period. Give us the coin.
Yeah. And also I feel like it's also back to what Issa was saying also about the idea of like, I think with Issa and Dion talking about the idea of like drag is also our form of therapy as well. So it's also hard when people are shaming that or like being weird about our work when it's like, okay, like I've also put a lot of myself into this, and this is also my way of expressing myself. And so for anyone to say anything negative about that, it's like, okay, you're also like a lot of like art is a vulnerable act of like doing any kind of artistry of any sort is an act of vulnerability in itself. And like I always joke about how like I'm very positive and I don't have a lot of feelings. I hate to show my feelings, but like Luke is a very sad boy. So a lot of my songs are very emotional because that's my way of expressing myself and getting those feelings out. And so it's like when people respond negatively to that, it's like that hurts, and it does hurt because it's like, okay, I put a lot of myself into this. This is my way of expressing myself. This is my way of getting my feelings out. And for someone to be like, oh, but I didn't like the way you edited that, or like that cut was weird. It's like, okay, well, bitch, I'm expressing myself. Let me like let me live, you know. It's like at the end of the day, it's like okay, but like, you're not seeing what's happening here, which is me putting my heart and soul out into it, and like also I think that's also with art. It's like if you're gonna critique it, it's like there's ask if the artist wants a critique or not, because they don't like ask them like, can I give you a critique, and like make it constructive, like, and if they say yes, like then make it constructive and then be like, hey, I noticed you use the same number. Like I was like, all right, well then how are you gonna solve this problem? Like, come with a solution. If you have a critique, something constructive and a solution. It's like, I noticed you reuse the same numbers. Here's $200. Do a new number. Great. In that case, boo boo, I got you. Like, and I will gladly do that. But it's like come with solutions when stuff like that, and keep in mind that people are expressing themselves and putting a lot of themselves into their work. And this for a lot of us, we can't afford therapy, so this is our therapy: is being able to express ourselves through art. That's why we do art, and that's why we stream. That's why we, you know, perform. You know, I think streaming is a form of performance. You know, it's like that's why we do this, is to put up and to express ourselves and to build a community. You know, to reach.
Yeah. Before we move off the topic of drag shows, I do want to remind people in chat that we do have a drag show later on in the con. If you want to stick around and watch those amazing performances. But our next topic that I want to bring up is specifically about being like being queer, like or gay. I use queer as the umbrella term for the community. Being queer in mental health, and how have being queer affected us, like our mental health, i.e. being like discrimination, or even like, I don't like the proper term of like self-phobia, if like you have any kind of like internalized like kind of homophobia about being queer yourself. So I want to speak on, I want to give you guys ideas about like being like queer, like being queer and our mental health. Does anyone want to start us off?
I'll start. So that is a loaded bag for me, because my journey through queerness has been very like transformative. So, I've always, my gender identity, being trans, being someone that doesn't identify with who they were born with, is hard. Like dysphoria, feeling iced out, because yes, I am Black, but I feel like sometimes I'm not, a normal Black person. So I feel like I don't fit in. Sometimes I feel like I don't fit in with other gays because I'm trans. Sometimes I feel like I don't fit in with other trans because I haven't transitioned fully. Like, I feel like I've always felt like an outsider in every realm of like queer relations. And so it's been really difficult, my mental health, because if you feel like an outsider, you're always by yourself. And you feel like you don't fit in with anyone, and that nobody would in turn receive you to come in. So I feel like for my personal journey, now that I'm older, accepting myself more and knowing that there's not a one-stop shop for what it means to be anything. Anyone, if you're true to yourself, it will thus, translate outward in a way that everyone can receive. So I don't need to be Black enough or gay enough or woman enough or anything of anything, really just being yourself. But I feel like those societal standards and, wanting to be accepted by others put a huge strain on like my mental health, because, especially when I was younger, because everybody wants friends, everybody wants to feel like they are a part of something. And when you realize at a very young age you're not, it kind of pushes you away from things. And it's something that I didn't even really fully get over until like, I really want to say like the early, like beginning of last year. Years and years and years of feeling like you aren't able to like be a part of things because of who you are. And like the anxiety and depression, all the things that come with it. So that's for me, my experience with that.
So much for shit. Oh. Anyone else want to?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Piggyback.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. Like I mentioned before, I grew up going to church, and I didn't mind it. Like my experiences going to church. I love seeing like the women's fashions and like who had what wig on and the outfit. I like went for like I didn't go, but like my experience was like, oh, who's wearing this? Oh, she's wearing that. Oh, that wig is cute. Or this and that. And then I would cringe whenever the gay topic came up because I'm like 8. I know I'm different. Or like 8 through like high school. I stopped going. Yeah, like when I was in high school. But I would like once the gay thing came up, you would hear like just sides comments like, "Oh, disgusting! Oh, this! Oh, that." Meanwhile, my ass is sitting there like, do 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 do, and it's like nothing's wrong with me. I'm not a demon. I it's just you're around those people for so long that it's not that you created a complex, but you kind of block your brain off of certain things, and even followed me. To be honest with you, all followed me into my adulthood. Like I have people on Facebook who I went to church with, and they sent me friend requests. Mind you, my picture on Facebook is me half well, it's me in drag and out of drag, and then my headline is me in drag. So I'm like, they have to have seen that. And I purposely stopped posting so much drag on my Facebook because I knew they followed me, which is dumb. Which is I like start posting more stuff now, but it's like that. Not a complex, but that protection. You kind of want to be like, oh, I'm not going to post that. Oh, I don't want them. I'm like, first of all, they sent you a friend request. Be yourself. Stop you spent all these years building up not just so much me being Dion, but like just building up your confidence as a gay person and not defaulting back to the oh okay well I'll step back in doing this. It's kind of honestly yeah maybe it did give me a complex to an extent of me wanting to not speak up for myself or not express myself. I didn't want to play basketball with like the boys and stuff. I would rather draw girls or watch TV or videos and not play sports. I'd rather be creative. I'd rather watch plays. And I felt like if I wasn't doing all that, then I'm doing something wrong. Like, oh, boys are supposed to do this or girls are supposed to do that. I'm like, actually, no. Kids are supposed to just play. Like, I know guys who play with dolls. They're married with wife and kids. Like, I think if we stop labeling things so young and early, I think that'll help people. Like just let people play. Stop saying, "Oh no, don't you can't do that. You can't do this." And like it's even so toxic because there was a sermon I went to some church once and this pastor was like, "Well, if you ever see a boy, he looks a little bit like he's feminine or this, just rough him up a little bit. Just rough him up a little bit." And like over here people like laugh and like I'm like that's abuse. What do you mean rough him up a little bit? Like what is this? Like that even follows me into my like adulthood and like telling little boys, "Oh, don't cry, you're not a girl." Okay, so girls are only supposed to cry? Like what like just don't I never subscribed to any of that. Oh, boys supposed to do this, girls supposed to do this, this and that. This color is for this gender. This color is this so it's just too much to like, take on and it's like who are you trying to impress and who are you trying to like please like it's just it's a lot to deal with. I'm trying to get back to my original thought. I feel like I deterred a little bit, but um, yeah, I'm trying to get back to my original thought, but I can't quite get there yet. But
But no, I feel like that speaks a lot to like how a lot of us were raised and were forced in this sort of bubble of like straightness and that and like like and this idea of like you know specific things that certain gender is supposed to do and what you're supposed to do once you've been assigned a certain gender at birth and stuff like that. And so like it's weird as an adult, like even if fully aware of how queer you are, those things still keep coming up. It's like like I feel like a lot of us, like I don't know about you, but like I find myself like sometimes catch myself like acting more straight in areas where like I feel like it's a little scary for me to be outwardly queer, something like that, because of the way you're conditioned and the way you were raised to like not be in a queer friendly environment. And it's weird because I feel like for me, like I've made myself such a queer bubble. The older I've gotten, like I've always gravitated towards queer people, but the older I've been, I always joke now sometimes I forget that straight people exist because I put so many queer people around me, but it's truly a thing where like um part of like one of the many reasons why I quit my job. It's not the only reason, but one of the many reasons is that like the restaurant I used to work at used to have a lot of queer people when I was hired there. But since then, a lot of them either like didn't come back because of COVID or got fired, or left, and it got to a point where I was like, I'm in a very straight environment, and that's actually affected my mental health. Be around people who like don't understand queerness, who don't understand blackness. Like I remember having my manager one time, like while he's office shift drunk, be like, he like as a straight white man, he's like, yeah, like he's like, I'm one of the few straight people here. I feel like a minority, and I was like, how you gonna tell a black queer woman feel like a minority? Like how? In what world? What world are you a minority against a black queer woman? Like, and I was just like, oh, this is the new person who's leading this restaurant is someone who has that mentality, and it's like, and like everyone that because we got a new GM and everyone he brought in was like very like minded like him, and it was like you're bringing people who have the same toxic energy, and it's like this is also exhausting to go into work and spend 7+ hours in a high pressure restaurant environment with people who have that energy and constantly like that and constantly make weird sex jokes and constantly making misogynistic jokes and stuff like that. That was just like, I don't appreciate that. And also like, I don't have the energy to keep knocking it because I will say something about it, but like, I don't have the energy to keep doing that for all 7+ hours, like working minimum wage. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, and I think a lot of that for me is like cutting those people out. And I'm like, I just don't want to deal with that. And so I've created like a lovely queer bubble, but the fact that like straight people still exist, people like that still exist, and so it's like still to deal with that at some point. But it's hard when you're also dealing with so many other things. Being a person of color as well as like you're also dealing with like being black on top of dealing with being queer, and on my end like also being like being a drag performer and being identifying as female outside of drag. It's like all those things like all those things layer into it of like other reasons why you have difficulties dealing with all those things, and so it's just like it's hard for sure when taking care of mental health because you're like the easy thing for me to do is shut those people out and to create a space that feels safe, which is why this creating spaces like this are important because you need space to be openly queer and to it takes alleviate some of the stress off of your body. It's like, okay, I can be queer without having to stress, or I can be black without having to stress. It's like I can breathe in those spaces, and you need that because so often there's so many spaces where you can't openly do that or can't feel comfortable doing that all the way. That it's draining, really is draining, and I hate it.
Yeah. I I definitely have a lot of similarities in situations to Dion with being in the church and that kind of thing. So like I would go to like a lot of youth groups and all this kind of thing just because I had a lot of friends in youth groups. Don't judge me. And I may or may not have been that pray the gay away person when I was a bit younger, but we don't talk about that moment. That was a dark time in my life. But I remember there were loads of situations where there was one youth group where it was bad enough that I was gay, but the fact that I was also questioning my gender and like all of these kind of things, they just did everything they could to completely push me down and be like, you're going to go to hell. And in fact, they ended up like kicking me out of the group because they were like, you need to cool it with your gender stuff. Like, this isn't the place for it. And I was like, so if I can't go to a place that's supposed to be all loving and all accepting with like legitimate questions and legitimate, like, I need some form of guidance. And at that point I was looking for spiritual guidance. Like, where am I supposed to go? It definitely contributed a lot to the whole feeling like an outcast and feeling like I wasn't supposed to be here and doing things. It was like these were the same people who would like when I tell you these are the same kind of people who victim blamed like anyone who was a victim of anything. They victim blamed all the time. Like, is that like, and that was like what was I supposed to do if that was my only place that I could go and and ask for help? Where was I supposed to go? And I feel like that definitely affected mental health negatively.
Can I say something like a little bit controversial? Uh, I also just think that like when we talk about like queer, like the comfortability around other queer people and like the feeling like queer bubbles in specific, like I'm kind of been like personally like dealing with a lot of like there is a kinship between brown queer people, and I don't always necessarily feel that same kinship between just all brown and like POCs, in the sense of like I feel like there's a lot of like there isn't enough discussion around how like I don't feel like straight people of color really stick up for brown people of color as much as they really truly should, when I feel like we definitely consistently constantly are sticking up for them and having their back, and it starts to create more spaces that we're not welcome or feel comfortable in. And it's like it gets to a point where it's like, when do we get to have places as queer people that we feel heard and seen in, when it's like we can't even feel heard and seen in with people who do look like us? They have to also like be people who think like us. And it's like I just want to be able to just fucking like let my head down and just like relax even around like straight people, but I don't necessarily feel, well, obviously I'm not talking about all straight people, but I don't feel just a larger sense of community. And I think that is also probably a big reason why like mental health isn't as necessarily talked about a lot, because I do feel like in the queer community mental health is much more of a priority, because we are just so much more in some ways emotionally mature and constantly having to talk about our feelings because we weren't allowed to talk about our feelings, where I feel as like straight and cis people probably for the most part just like are still continuing to suppress a lot of feelings and emotions, you know what I mean? And it like creates environments that aren't necessarily like even healthy, to the point where we have to create these queer bubbles. And like I can echo a lot to like these like work environments where people keep bringing in people that make you feel extremely uncomfortable. I've yet to work in a restaurant where I'm not the only Black and gay person, and have yet to not have to like, it gets to a point where like you don't even feel comfortable reporting microaggressions to your coworkers, because it's like, do they even get it? Do they even care? Will they even stick up for me and stand up for me? And the few times that I have had another brown person in the workplace, I almost used the word unfortunately, but they have been straight. And like I said, it's like, do I even feel comfortable like reporting? Like maybe you'll understand if like a racial microaggression happens, but are you gonna understand that like this older white man made me feel uncomfortable, not because I'm Black? Well, maybe because I'm Black, but also definitely because I'm like very queer looking. And they like, will you get that? Will you understand that? Will you be able to like stick up for me in that situation? And like a lot of times I don't necessarily feel like, I think having to constantly advocate for ourselves gives us a certain, an emotional maturity that I just don't necessarily see all across the board. And I think that creates a lot of spaces where like, even more spaces where we're not allowed to just be and to just exist. And I don't know, it's really bad at ending my little monologues, but yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No, I agree.
100%.
Amelia.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so I feel like that's also another big thing, is like accountability is so hard when you don't feel like the people that will have a higher power to hold others accountable are in a place to actually help. And so I feel like a lot of also why we suppress things, like you mentioned, because there's no one to report things to. And I think that's also a lot of like why like so many things feed into mental health, because it's like, okay, like getting people in power who understand these things, who are truly understand like the issues that we had to deal with, is so big, because like therefore we feel more comfortable bringing these issues up and like have, and knowing that change is actually going to happen, is when we know people are in our corner. And it's like, I think a lot of times people understand how important voting for certain people and like putting people in power, like who are really in the best interest of color, of queer people, of trans people, like all those things come into play, because it's like, okay, all these things factor down into how we're able to live our everyday lives and like how we're able to function. And like that makes a huge difference in like knowing you have someone in charge who is going to advocate for you compared to someone who isn't going to advocate for you 100%.
I think there's a whole aspect as well of like, I've definitely noticed it in some workplaces where it's like you'd be hired as the token black person or the token queer person. And if you were, and like when you are subject to these microaggressions that are racial, that are transphobic, homophobic, all of these discriminatory things, and you go and report it, you're greeted with this whole, oh, you should just be grateful that you're actually working here level of thing. And I feel like if there was more, it's that whole situation again of like, if there was more people like us, we'd have more people in our corner that we could be like, hey, we're not the only one feeling like this. You need to sort this out.
Yeah,
I
I
think we
remember
need to
there's
raise like the token number
Yeah.
from like 1 to like 3. Like you can't hire one of us without hiring another 2. Like just period.
yeah,
'Cause-
period. Yeah, yeah,
I
no,
feel like-
fully. Like I think. Wait. That's what I was talking about. Sorry, I was like, oh.
I was just gonna say, even like, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like, even on Twitch, for me, I was like the only gay or queer black streamer I knew of. Like, and I've been streaming for a year and a half. Like, I could not find any, like, anywhere. I'm just like, I'm looking for some comrades. I'm looking for some friends. Like, where are the girls? Like, I can't find them. You know, where are we at? And like,
Yeah,
sometimes it's kind of disheartening when you're out here, you know, producing content and being up here and being yourself, and it's like you can't find yourself like anywhere else, you know. Which is why I love this panel. I love like seeing all you, like literally just sitting here looking at y'all just makes me so happy. I'm like, we here, like we out here, we doing it because you know I worked in retail, I worked in styling, so most of us were all gay anyway. So you know, we were all out here just doing our thing, whatever. But like one thing I noticed is like all the managers were white, like all of them. There were no black people in like managerial positions, supervisory like positions, and so it always felt like, hey, you're black, come work for us and do entry level. Like it never felt like you were hiring me to be more than like where you are, which is like a whole crazy thing in itself. But it always feels like when you're black and queer, like sometimes you always like have to be on the bottom, or like you always have to be like, you know, not the secret, but like the thing that doesn't quite fit. And like I think what Alien King was saying was like, you know, the queer bubble. Like I need to start doing that more. I need my bubble because you know in IRL and even on Twitch, like having that bubble, having that like foundation and safety net is so important. And I think sometimes that's why I feel like I don't belong or like I feel weird on Twitch because I'm like, you know, I don't have that bubble. It's just like, you know, I'm out here and I feel like what's going on? Like, you know, so that had resonated with me earlier. I didn't mean to cut you off, by the way, King.
Oh no, I love that you said that, and I think that's so much of like why I love this con, and also like I like go out of my way to like find black queer streamers because I know that a lot of them just aren't getting visibility on this site, and that's a lot of like why we do this and why I'm always like, okay, like you already know your white queen's gonna get plenty of viewers, so like when in doubt, like you know, if someone's shouting out a black queer streamer, like it really does help to go in the stream, lurk if you can't be active in the chat or like whatever it is, like sub, like all those things help boost their algorithm to make sure that they're more visible because it is so hard to find them that it's like doing what you can to help push people's content. Same thing on any social media site. It's like pushing black and queer people and like black queer people's content to the forefront makes such a big difference, especially if you're someone who is white. This is what we talk about being ally is showing up. It's like if you are white and you have the platform and you know you have a lot of viewers, use that to propel people color who and queer people who need that platform boosted because it's like a lot of times a lot of these sites are purposely making it hard for us to work against the algorithm. It's like working twice as hard. Stuff like TikTok where it's like it's a lot of people get shadow banned. It's like you need to work extra hard because like we're already doing all as much as we can to be visible and still having sites working against us. So it's like that's draining. Like social media, I feel like anyone who creates content knows that it's a lot of work. Constantly create stuff and it creates stuff on every site, and so it's like doing what you can to like put those people forward. Raid, like if you're on Twitch, raiding into people of color, like not just during February, but as much as you can. Like I was like, your favorite white streamers will be okay. You can raid into a black streamer and then still say hi to your white friends later. Like you can have multiple tabs open. Like you know what I mean? Like you can do that, and like obviously pick and choose. Like, but like if you realize you're only raiding into white people, raid into someone of color every now and then. Like make sure you're switching it up. If you realize you're only playing games with white people, it's like make sure you're including black streamers into your content to make sure that you are keeping your space diverse and making sure that your followers are normalizing having a diverse following list, because it's like all the stuff like that helps, and especially with something like Twitch where like it sucks that we just search so hard to find other black queer people on this site because it's so buried, and it's like you need to do your work to keep pushing people forward so we don't have to like feel so isolated and feel so alone on this site, on a place where we're supposed to just be able to share our stuff. And also the fact that like there are also so many people who are really ugly on the site and are really racist and really like homophobic and really transphobic, and so like but being there for your community and like making sure you're will help defend us against that. Like that was a big thing. My first few weeks on Twitch was like getting racist trolls and was like, so you saw the LGBTQ tag and then saw my face and then chose to be racist, because not like we have a black tag. So it's like y'all came in here, y'all saw the thumbnail and chose to be racist. I was like, that's an active choice to come in here and be racist. I was like, you need to stand up for people and like protect our health as streamers by like looking out for us and being in our chats and like ratting out the trolls that are stupid and annoying, stuff like that. Show up. Show out.
Show up. It's so important. Like I can look up. I'm literally. You were talking about that, and I was like, I'm gonna try something. I pulled up my followed channels right now. There is all of the top are white people. All of the top with the most viewers are white people, and that has always been the case. That has always been the case with me and Twitch, and that is why I think it is so important that we need to uplift the black community. The black community creates content and is completely disregarded, pushed aside. It's disgusting, and it's why seeing like those like the amazing black creators on front page is so like that hit me. That was like, oh my god, this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this before. That was insane. And the fact that even in our team we have now two black drag queens pushing for partner, which is insane. Like we need to it should not be insane that this is happening. This should be the norm. This should be the norm. So show up, show out, support your POC creators, because we're here. Like I know I'll put my hands up and say my very white ass, pasty ass hands up and say, yeah, I look white. And frankly, like I do have there is a very clear, sometimes I do get it easier, but it should not be like that at all. Like right here, so many amazing black content creators that have been going on through this panel and through this entire con. And I guarantee you, as soon as this con is over, it's going to kill me, but there's going to be so many people that are just like, okay, cool, Black History Month is over, bye, see you next year.
Yeah. So like they're really just like, yeah, I think it's very like apparently that we really do need to like uplift more black and like black and black queer like channels, especially because like for me the other panel I moderated, my trans panel, it was very hard for me to find people like for my panel, especially trying to find like trans black streamers, and like I was like, I don't know anyone, and I wish I would have known, Cyberina. Like you said you were trans, like I wish I would have known. Honestly, I'll get you next year because I wish I would have known, because I would totally invite you to my trans panel. Like I did not like. It took me so long to find people just other people for my panel, because we don't have any representation on any of these platforms really, and it's really hard to find more of us so we can like because like so we can like so like I can have like I can find the space to have like to be able to like so we can like I can provide the space to be able to like represent ourselves because like it's like because this is what this con is for to be able to represent ourselves as and but not only like like as like artists and just like for artists being black because it is because it's just hard to be able to find the representation. Like we just need the representation that we need.
The representation is definitely not there, and I will say this con has been so amazing for me specifically because I never talked about being mixed race ever. It was never a thing that was brought up, and the fact that even now I can come onto these panels and be with all of you that like not being able to talk about my heritage and like literally where my mom comes from in Algeria, it was killing me. And the fact that I'm able to be here, it's such a weight lifted, and yeah, it's good. It's let's just say that's one thing that's going to help my mental health a little bit more is accepting that a bit more. So thank you for accepting me.
All right. With that being said, we have about 10 minutes left of our panel. So I want to, like try to like wrap it up a little bit. Maybe I don't like maybe one or maybe two. I don't know. We probably won't have time for like a second a second question. But I wanted to I could take a this is a question from someone in chat named Smiling TX Girl. And her question for us is like, what does self-care look like for you? Does anyone want to start us off? What does self-care look like for you? Give me like a second to think about, what your self-care is for dealing with Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me, I talk about this a lot, but I fully believe in curating your social media feed. I'm one of those millennials that like is constantly on my computer, constantly on my phone, constantly on my tablet. Like I have all my devices with me at all times, and so like I already know I'm gonna naturally look at social media all the time. Like I'm not a person that's capable currently of just doing a social media blackout for a couple of days. So for me, it's like, all right, if I'm gonna be online all the time, might as well make sure my feed is something that is going to help me. So it's like making sure like if anyone I find particularly too negative or just like really frustrating to see the content all the time, I'm gonna mute them if I don't want to fully unfriend them. But mute, unfollow, unfriend are your best friends. Not everyone needs to have access to you online. And like things are most of my stuff, my settings aren't private, so it's like you can still see my stuff if you want to have access to me. You can still see my stuff. I just don't need to see your stuff. But also, it's like following like the arts counts that I think help keep inspiring me and like following things I find cute. Like I have a lot of cute animal accounts that I follow purely just so I can make sure I see cats like every 3 posts. Like I do it because I was like I want to see kittens every 3 posts because that's gonna help boost my serotonin. But also like I I think taking days off, it's like it's okay to like knowing it's like all right, like I worked all week. I'm allowed a whole day of like sitting in bed watching TV, like like stuff like that, like having those go-to shows that I know feel good, like stuff like that. I think is really helpful for me is like taking those days off and being like I'm gonna devote a whole night to like I cannot press the start streaming button. I cannot hit record on my camera or anything. Like I'm not creating any content. Like the whole day off of like just whatever I need for me. So I'm trying to work on also healthier self-care habits because for me, food's a big thing. Like I love eating, and so like ordering food is a big thing. So that's one that I'm trying to work on making it at least like a healthier self-care option. But like I love treating it. I love a lot of chocolate and stuff like that. So food is also a big self-care. But it's good to treat yourself to a nice meal every now and then. Just maybe not like super unhealthy food all the time. I'm trying to work on that. Of like, I don't eat pizza every single time, but I can treat myself to pizza every now and then and make it a cute thing to like feel better. So yeah.
For me, self-care is really just spending time with people who I love. That makes me feel great. So I have like my Twitch community and we hang out like every day, literally. I like watching like random stuff like Ayala Fix My Life. We watch that all the time. I'm pretty sure they're in chat now. We know quotes, I know clips I can reenact on the ball. I have like a lot of straight guys that hang out, so like I make them watch American Next Top Model with me because if you're gonna be a part of my life, you need to have your ATM down. You know, just be doing things that like sort of what Alien King said, like things that inspire you, but just sharing it with others. Like I feel like I spent my whole life alone and like afraid. And now like self-care for me and doing things that make me feel good is really opening up and like here, these are my interests. Okay, now what are yours? And like we actually like talk together and spend time together. And I think the pandemic really taught me that like treasured and leisure time and happy time is something to like really prioritize. Like before the pandemic, I worked like a slave. I just, thought I would work till I would never work again. And then after that, work some more in the grave. And now I'm just like, what the heck was I doing? I'm like 24, 25, and I'm working like my life is over. It's just starting. So like that leisure time, that fun time, watching with others and spending time with others, it like that makes me feel great. So that's like my like to go thing. And also ice cream.
What's going on?
I'll go. For me, before the pandemic, a huge thing for me was I would always y'all are gonna judge me. But I always had this really weird connection to like the airport in Dublin specifically. So I would always just hop on a bus up to the airport, and that was my self-care. It was being in that environment was very relaxing for me. It was very like a great place to clear my thoughts. I don't know what the connection was, something probably to do with like being able to get away if I needed to, but still having the control to stay in the one place. But obviously because of the pandemic, that's kind of gone downhill. But otherwise for me, it would be music. So I listen a lot to music, and I learn a lot of dances and try and channel and draw inspiration from a lot of K-pop and anything kind of like that. And that's kind of my self-care when I have the spoons to self-care.
What about you? Isa?
Sorry. I guess like a big thing for me as far as like self-care is like, and I know this doesn't actually cure depression, but like literally just going outside and just going for a walk, like listening to music and kind of like dancing a little bit and vibing has always been kind of like my own version of just like free therapy of just like I could walk literally for hours at a time with no destination and just like the clearing of my head, the listening to the music that I like, the isolating myself, the really thinking about like the events of that have transpired in just like the past year and just like really checking in with myself and being like, where am I and like where do I want to be like when this is all over has always been kind of my own self-care. Also weed, like a lot of weed. And that's like it.
What about you, Dion?
I agree. I would say anything that's guilt-free, doing something that's guilt-free, because if you're at work, you have limits and this and that, or like setting, even so much as setting boundaries with people is self-care. It's an investment in your self-care. Also, to piggyback off like podcasts, like I look so forward to Tuesdays when The Read comes out. I don't know if you guys, just hearing Crystal's laugh is just great, and listening to Bob and Monet Exchange have a podcast out, and Friend Zone, just different podcasts, hearing different queer and POC folks just talking about stuff you can relate to. It's like putting the headphones on and you're just disconnected from life for that 2.5 hours or hour, however long you're doing it. But I think just going back to square one of what makes you happy, even if it's the most simplest thing. Like if you want to color, or if you want to paint, or if you want to style some hair, or go shopping, or buy something to eat, or buy something to drink, or just relax, give yourself a facial, different things like that. Just reminding yourself that, okay, I care about you. What do you want to do? How can we take care of this? So I think all that kind of just wraps up itself into like self-care for me.
And also, I really believe there's power in the kiki. Like I honestly like my drag family. Like we have a house chat. We usually will like every Sunday meet up and like because we make sure everyone's like I'm like as much as I have mixed feelings of Drag Race, we still like to talk about it and like and just catch up with each other. And so we spend our we have like a weekly check and we just like be like, how's everyone doing this week? Like what let's catch each other up on what we've been doing and let's talk about the shows we've been watching. Like there's so much power in just being able to talk with people, and that's honestly one of my favorite times of the week is like knowing that like around 7 p.m. on a Sunday, we're all gonna call each other and be like, well, "Girl, what you cooking? Like, how you doing? Like, oh, what you working on? What outfit are you making? Like, what are you styling? What are you doing? Like, stuff like that is so. I feel so fortunate to have, but like, it really does. Yeah, me just moving into the next week with just such a burst of energy, having that weekly talk with people. I love it. Yeah.
For me, my self-care is making sure my panelists get paid. So exclamation mark rep in chat for our reparation. That's my self-care, getting my panelists paid. But yeah, thank you guys all for joining me with this panel and talking about mental health. I really appreciate it. We're basically out of time, but like for like one last time, I want you guys all to plug whatever like any kind of social media, whatever you're using, just like so people can find you. So what about you, Cyberina?
So you can follow me at twitch.tv/Cyberina, 2 A's because the first one was taken. I'm a full-time streamer. So I stream about 4 times a week. And then my Twitter is Cyber with 5 R's because every R up until 5 was taken. I'll put it in chat as well, but thank you guys so much for having me.
To Dion?
You can find me on Instagram at Dion Dior Black. DionDiorBlack. It's right on the thing too, just noticed. But on Facebook, it's under Terry James, but that's still Dion's page too. So you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And my other Instagram is National Beauty Queen 2020. So that's another Instagram account I have as well. So those 3 is how you can get a hold of me.
To Issa?
You can find me at Issaman Official on Instagram. The official's only there because Issaman is already taken for some reason. It's not by a drag queen. But yeah, all of my socials are there. I'm not good at social media. Instagram is the only thing I really have. So follow me there.
What about you, Luke?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitch, TikTok, and Twitter at Alien King Luke, and on Instagram at luke.ami. And you can find me here later on moderating the cosplay and body painting panel and in the drag show with a brand new number. Speaking of new drag numbers,
Oh yeah,
I made
a drag
one for
show
this
too,
one.
sorry.
That'll work. Yes. So come out and see all of us in the show.
Okay, what about you, Nikki?
So you can find me on all social media. That's Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch at Nikki_Stones. I am going to be in Unbothered, the drag show, at the end of the con as well. So make sure to stick around for that. And make sure also to come by my channel on the 27th of March for Blacklight Drag Show, The Resurrection. It's going to be amazing. I'm basically bringing back my own drag show, which I've been sitting on my arse and haven't had the spoons to do, and I finally am going to do it. So I'd absolutely love to see everyone there.
Thank you. Thank you guys all for like being with me here today and being so vulnerable. I really appreciate it was an amazing panel. I had a great time talking to you all. And I thank you guys all. So I don't even know how to end this, but yeah. Thank you guys all for coming. Like people at home, thank you all for coming to our panel. Bye guys.